All right, welcome back, everybody. It's the Sideshow. My name is Mingo.
I am Manny.
My name is Sebastian.
And you want to introduce your special guest?
Yes, so today...
Well, wait a minute, let me clarify. When I say special guest, I don't mean that the guest is, like, special.
I'm the special guest for today.
Right, it's just a special guest because you don't have very many.
Yeah. Every guest is special. How we go? Shit. Yes, I want to introduce you guys to my brother, Juan. He's here visiting, so say what's up, man.
Hey, hello, everybody. Hello.
Yeah. When you say he's here visiting, like he's here in the studio visiting, like he doesn't live here?
Well, he lives in Colorado, but he comes and visits us here, and yeah, he stays with my sister and stuff like that.
Juan, what do you do in Colorado?
I run a business. I'm a life energy instructor, and I go back and forth. And I also work out of. I work remotely, so I can work pretty much everywhere.
The fuck's a life energy instructor?
So I help people
Something you sorely need.
That's why I'm here. Manny brought me here.
Just an intervention.
No,
Looking great on board already. No,
Manny didn't bring you here. The energy brought you here. You could feel it from Colorado.
The universe.
Holy
the universe
fuck, I
brings
need
us
to get out to
together.
California.
Right, dude.
something is pulling me
Yeah,
there.
right? There's a disturbance in my energy.
Just remember, bitch, the force is strong with this one.
Right.
Do you mean
You got
gravity?
a lot
well,
of
that
life
too.
energy, dude.
So what exactly is a life energy instructor? Because, like, you know, people have heard of, like, life coaches or people that will help you with your direction of business or whatever, whatnot. What's a...
So
Tony Robbins.
I created the LEO method, which is shout out to leomethod.com, leomethod.com. Here we
Shameless plug.
We're going to have to blur that out.
are. But it's,
Yeah, there you go.
I know.
No shameless plugs unless you're plugging the Sideshow on Spotify and all other podcast platforms.
Right, dude.
There better be a fucking plug to
Yeah,
the
right.
Sideshow on your website, leo.com.
Right?
So it's an acronym for the Life Energy Optimization Method. And so what I do is I help people to literally optimize their energies on an everyday basis. So, you know, the things that you experience on an everyday basis, like your thoughts, your emotions, the way you feel about it, all that, it's your creation. And if you feel bad about certain things, your life, your work, your marriage, whatever, unfortunately, unconsciously, you are creating that. And most people are not aware of that. So what I do is I come in and I make it into a conscious process. So that way you can become aware of how you go about and create your own individual experiences of life. And because you do not realize. Yeah.
Fucking dick.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Let's
I'm just
simplify
kidding.
it.
Yeah. A big part of it is actually facing fears, which is a big reason why people kind of like avoid me like the plague and they run away. Yeah, because fear is, you know, a vital survival mechanism. Right? And that's the thing that you'll notice right now with everything that's going on with the world, with the whole virus thing and all that. It's all mostly a psychological fear process that people are not aware of what's really going on in their lives. And that's where we have become so weak and easily duped
Controlled.
about, you know, life and you know, what's really real and what isn't. Yeah, an instructor. So yeah, so there, I help people to understand these mechanics within the human system, the human operating system, and how to optimize it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're like fucking mobile Disneyland. You try to teach people how to be happy.
I was gonna
pretty
call him
much.
an Apple software update.
Exactly, something like
Actually,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Because
perfect.
most
That's
people,
perfect.
most people are
I did that in
running.
about 3 seconds.
Yeah, most people are running on Windows 95, and you have
Right.
a brand new fucking computer
Gotta bring
system.
him Windows 10.
Yeah.
I gotta bring in
Most
Windows
people
10.
do not know how to optimize their thinking processes, their emotional, their physical intelligence, and even their energetic spiritual intelligence.
What if you're already at the Xbox Series X level
well then
or a PS5?
Then you're
well
dead.
then what would
Right.
happen?
Then you're
Because that's
need
the
that.
future.
Yeah.
You in heaven, bitch.
Then you would have snatched a pebble from my hand, and it will be time for you to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would become, as the Hindus called it, I think it was, the Buddhist or the enlightened one.
The enlightened one.
You've reached the next step of
Yeah.
So
Life energy.
So basically, like,
Yeah.
you know, they talk about self-talk, right? So you teach people how to change the way they communicate within themselves so that they get rid of their negative thoughts and are be able to reach better conclusions about what's going on around them?
More
yes.
deeply, no, actually. So,
Yes.
You said,
in a nutshell.
fuck you.
no. See, the thing is, your beliefs and your programming are, generally speaking, created unconsciously within your system. And a lot of the beliefs that people have are based on fear, which is a survival mechanism, because that is the vital survival basis of which we are trying to make sense of the world when we're growing up as children. So a lot of your beliefs, generally speaking, are childish. They're and at this point in your life,
Pretty accurate.
yeah, and they are.
That describes 99.9%
and
of
that's
guys.
yeah,
People
seriously.
in general.
Oh,
People
that's
in general, men and women, dude. Because actually, 90% of my 90% of my clients are actually women.
Well,
And-
Juan and
yeah.
Marcy did an interview with the writer of the book Women Are for Venus, Men Are for Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They did actually a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah,
with
John Gray, the
John
author.
Gray, the author, and they did a
The-
YouTube video with him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Really?
Pretty cool.
Yeah. We had a really, really cool talk about relationships, and he's known as the relationship guru of all, masters or whatever you want to call it. And I mean, but he's worked with
Master of the
everybody
universe.
from what's it, Oprah Winfrey. He was just her personal
Life coach.
relationship coach,
Yeah.
and he's worked with everybody and anybody, and he's pretty amazing, dude. He's pretty cool. So there are some amazing insights on that on that podcast.
That was a cool video.
Yeah, it's
cool
a cool
YouTube video.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you find like because I think growing up,
Yeah.
we kind of learn those, especially if you grow up kind of in a rough neighborhood. I think you have you live on a heightened sense, kind of like being in survival mode all the time,
Yeah.
and being very keen about your surroundings.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting that you talk about that, because my sister, she's got her master's degree in management and management communication, basically, and teaching philosophies. And a lot of it, when she was going through that class, she would call me and be like, "Dude, you should take this class. Everything that they're teaching is all the shit that we learned growing up
On the streets, right?
Yeah, it's just being, have a heightened sense of what's around you, and it kind of sounds like what you're talking about, and having that heightened sense. There's always been an innate ability to be able to look at a group of people, because I think a group of people, when you hang around people, because you become a product of your environment, begin to think and act the same way as one another. They have the same theories about things. Do you find that to be the same with what you do, as far as a commonality between the people that you help?
That was a lengthy fucking question. Actually, I think the
but that was
build-up was lengthy.
Yeah, the build-up was lengthy, but it was kind of necessary.
If ever there
Can
was
you
a
repeat that,
definition for
Mingo?
word vomit,
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I can. Here we go. No, I mean, like the patients that
Fast
come in, or
forward.
people that the people that you help. Do you find that there's a common string between all of them, and kind of their personalities or how they think?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I see it in everybody. And it's only the difference that those who are willing to help themselves that actually do it. And the rest are just kind of like, they're kind of enslaved by it. It reminded me of a quote by Harriet Tubman, who used to, she used to be the one who used to go underground and free the slaves. She said that I could have or would have been able to free, I think, thousands more slaves if only they knew they were slaves. And it's kind of like what's going on right now.
that's fucking scarily true.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think there's a lot of that, because even we talked about it. Like, I didn't know I was poor until I went to school, because everybody around me was the same. You know what I mean? We all we all were living the same kind of lifestyle and until we went to school and we saw all the white kids and getting dropped off and pulling out their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and their fucking cupcakes.
I was jealous of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, you know what I mean. We pulled, but you know what's funny is we would sit there and we'd be jealous of them and seeing them pull it out, and then we'd pull out our fucking burrito and they're like, "Oh my god, what's that?"
Yeah.
No shit. Remember, Manny, when we were kids, we used to look at fucking commercials, and we would just like all go over the Burger King commercials because we were just fucking starving, dude. And
Grass is greener.
it was crazy. It was a crazy.
We were in junior high school, and we would have to like look at the kids because you would have your ticket right for the regular like school meal or whatever, and it would be like freaking. What is it, Salisbury steak or whatever with mashed potatoes or whatever the fuck they're giving us that day.
Mashed potatoes, gravy, and
fucking fancy
and
meatloaf.
toast.
Yeah, fancy meatloaf. And then the kids had money they would have a different cart for them, like where they can get like Burger King and Pizza Hut and nachos and this
Bullshit.
and that. I swear to God.
Domino's pizzas.
Little Pizza Hut pizzas, like personal pizzas. They
What school? What grade?
7th.
Yeah, like junior high school in Raymond Creek.
7th.
Yeah. Raymond Cree, really?
Raymond Creek,
I went to a school where it was the only high school within an hour of every other high school.
Yeah.
And we barely had one slice of Little Caesars cheese pizza.
Are you serious?
You're telling me you had fucking
Personal.
Pizza Hut and Burger King
they had
personal shit?
They had a cart for the kids that had money. And they would have like little personal pan pizzas from Pizza Hut or cheeseburgers from Burger King.
We came from, I think, Arizona at that time, right? And because my dad and my family, we travel. We were homeless 80-90% of our time, right? And so it was pretty crazy. My parents didn't, I think, it's crazy. It was a crazy life. But, they did what they could, I never. But when we came to Palm Springs, it was such a weird thing to see like the poorest of the poor and the richest of the rich, and then they're all commingling, and then you see the food like you were saying. Why do they get Pizza Hut and Domino's Pizza and Burger King and food, and then we're on line to the poor section over here on this side with our tickets, and I almost felt
with your little fucking pink card.
I felt embarrassed. I wouldn't even eat.
Yeah.
I would felt because
I was never that embarrassed.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Really.
And you know what? Because back then, presentation, your visual, right? The way it's all your ego is the most important thing when you're a kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? The way you present yourself.
Because that's all you have.
Yeah, and that's all. It's developing. You know what I mean? But most people don't grow out of their ego. Most people who are mature, even in their 70s and 80s, like some people that we know.
Yeah, we talked about that with cars.
Yeah, they don't grow up. They just kind of stay in that childlike egoic state. They don't grow into their full power and take full responsibility for their life. And they don't know that they can actually be happy, healthy, and strong simply by their own nature if they only want to do the work to be 100% responsible for their life.
Yes, but I'm gonna
call bullshit on that?
Kind of. Not
I get that all the time. But
not exactly call bullshit.
He sounds so pissed. I was ready for this.
I'm so excited.
I knew one of you
I
fuckers.
came ready
right?
for this.
But I wouldn't say that. I think part of that lays on the fact that we grew up at a time where our parents, and when I say our parents, I mean our cultura, would tell us that
means culture.
would say, hey, you know what? If you've got a job, you've got a roof over your head, bills are paid, and food on the table, that's enough.
Yeah.
They never pushed you to do anything else, only because they didn't know anything else. They would tell you, oh, well, get a job with the county. Porque el condado te paga and you get all your time off and you get retirement and all that bullshit, right? They never told you about, had they told me, hey, you can go to school and learn how to do computer programming, and by the time you're 30, you'll have a yacht. They
never told us that shit.
Right, because they didn't know about it. You know what
Mostly because your parents were scared of computers.
Well, yeah. You know what I mean?
And you're wasting your time with it.
The fucked up part is my parents were like my dad had to been about 4th generation Mexican. He was born here in the U.S. You know what I mean? So it's not like he just got here. Like we all just landed in Coachella and said, "Whoo, that was a long walk. Let's fucking stay here." You know what I mean? Like we had all he'd been there. They've all been here for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my mom was white, but my mom had a 4th grade education. That was the thing around that time. So there was no education or development for our culture, and for them to teach us how to reach for the stars. It was, hey, stay within your own fucking bubble. Don't try too hard, but because you don't want to get noticed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what? That is something that is 99% of the population. Because nobody's teaching people how to become financially intelligent. There is no such thing. You have to go out of your way to try to work and study the mechanics of money. They're not teaching this in school, so they're kind of stupefying everybody. In fact, there are the people who are really have the money. They literally have a thing in which, kind of like a mantra per se, to keep people ignorant of such things, because they keep the power.
Yeah.
By making people now that we have the internet and everything that's happening right now, there's a huge awakening happening. It's a little rough, but those who are willing to work and help themselves and do the things that they need to do, the right things, only then will the right things happen to them. But again, right now you see it very commonly right now where there's a huge suicide rate that kind of like got pushed over to burning on fire right after the whole virus thing that's happening right now. There was a cop, I heard it on Joe Rogan. He said that.
Hey, we don't say that name around here.
Oh, my bad. Well, he said that his. Sorry, man.
Someone else who is an internet personality.
Once he says my name on his show, then we might mention it.
Gotcha.
Mike.
We don't plug.
My bad. Man. I apologize for that one, dude. I'm so sorry. But so there was a cop who said that he was used to getting one suicide call a week. And right now, it's jumped up to 5 suicides a day. Okay. And I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised.
It makes absolute sense.
I wouldn't be surprised that between now and 10 years from now, that 50%, I wouldn't be surprised that half of the world's population will commit suicide because of the way things are going.
That's
Why?
a
Because
big fucking number.
Yeah, because most people would rather die than to change and transform themselves to be in their own power, because they're so identified with their beliefs and their ideas, and they'd rather go down the ship with it.
Yeah, 3.5 billion people. I'd breathe a little easier.
Yeah, right.
I agree with those numbers.
But you know what? It's up to us. It's up to the individual. Because how many people do you know that don't? As soon as I talk to some people who have problems, right, and they come to me, Juan, can you help me this and that? Sure, I can help you, but I'm not going to do it for you. I can work with you. And as soon as I start talking about work and transformation, and I tell them, you're going to be happy. You can literally do the things to have the thoughts and the emotions and the healthy body that you want. But as soon as I mention the work of transformation, dude,
but that all goes back to what you first said, and that is most people are motivated or are living through fear.
Yes.
And it's more of a fear of the unknown, and to go against what they feel.
Fear is a very limited form. It's a clever program.
It's a strong motivator.
It's a clever program, but it's a very unintelligent way of living your life. It disempowers you. It sabotages your intelligence. The most intelligent thing you can do is be particularly mentally clear and sharp. And most people have a very hard time doing that. Why? Because we've been programmed to think. Think your mind. And I heard it all the time growing up. Use your head. Think. That actually sabotages your clarity and your perception of reality. Now, I'm not saying that thinking is a bad thing. But you should control it, not it the other way around.
The way that you learned to do it was it clouded your mind.
Absolutely.
Like crowded it with
learning,
shit.
exactly, information, all that stuff. But learning to actually clear your mind is actually the basis for meditation. Meditation is an actual tool. It's a technology that's been passed down, and there are many methodologies of going about it. I teach a very simple one that you have to go through the process to initiate you to understand the mechanics of how to create a little space between you and your thoughts, so there's not a confusion of identification, but you can actually start to create a little bit of perception. And then through that distancing, you can actually see clearly what are empowering thoughts and disempowering thoughts. And through that process as well, you can actually dissolve the disempowering thoughts and then focus more on the empowering ones, so you can motivate yourself to take action.
But this is a lot of the stuff that we had talked about before, where I told you that like all these people and you too. I mean, all these people that they win the lottery, or these guys that come from rough neighborhoods and they get into the NFL or the NBA and they become super rich, and then lose all of their fucking money because yes, you know what? They get all these kids that are on fucking YouTube and getting all this money from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody's ever taught them how to be financially sound, how to make and create a longevity of money and future wealth for not only themselves, their children, and their children's children. That's where we begin to fail. That's where the process falls apart because our families, and this is kind of what I was talking about, where there was none of that kind of guidance when we were growing up because nobody talked about it. Nobody knew how. Really, nobody had fucking money to worry about. Again, because it was the rent's paid, you have a roof over your head, and you have
Food on
the table.
Yeah, food on your. Yeah.
And that's all you need.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So if you're never taught to reach past that, or to even think of reaching past that, when you do, you don't know what to do with it. Yeah. And that's basically what you're saying is that, you know, you have to learn the process of first that thought process of how to turn everything. And I said this before that Spanish or Mexicans are very, very negative. That it's a negative language. Yeah.
It's a very feminized and emasculating language. Actually, I think out of all the cultures, the Spanish, Latin, I think they're the most feminine, to be honest, even more than the French.
It is, but when I'm saying it's a negative language, it's all, no quieres ir para acá? You're already setting it up with a no. No is the first thing out of your mouth.
¿No quieres ir?
¿No quieres ir?
¿No quieres
but
taco?
you see, the thing is that no is a very powerful word because it actually gives you, it fills you with power, with your own discretionary processes. You can actually say no to this. A lot of people have a hard time saying no to shit.
Well, I think in the Spanish language, it's when you start off the sentence like that, is so that the person that's asking is already empowered and doesn't feel bad if the person says, hey, you know what, I really don't want to go.
Right. Yeah. But here's the thing. Once you have no and you kind of create that power, you become established. And once you become established, you don't want to change. That actually even reflects on government. That actually reflects on all systems. Once they become too established, they don't change to evolve to function at a more functional level or upgrade themselves. It becomes outdated, but they hold on to it. So it has a mental and emotional, psychological process to it as well.
And that's why it was very difficult when I first started at this job that we're at because it very much, like, I remember growing up thinking, you know, my parents were really negative. Anytime you asked, it was always no, start with no. It fucking usually ended in no. Yeah. But, you know, it's where it would start. Yeah. And then your conversations when people would come in and you're trying to sell them something would start with no. You're already defeating yourself. It's a defeatist language.
In a way, yeah. In a way, you're protecting yourself. It's fear. But you're also limiting yourself. And it's good to use the word no, obviously, but you consciously. With your intelligence.
I'm going to become a yes man. Have you seen the movie Yes Man? Mingo?
No, why? So you can end up on the other end?
Yeah, you can say yes to everything. You know, have you seen that
movie? You got to find a common ground.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's not about being a yes man or a no man. It's about being fucking human. Intelligent.
Have you seen Yes Man?
Yes.
Yes, man.
Yes, man.
Yes, man.
Yes, man.
you know what's crazy too? Like you look at fear, right? Religion. It's it actually.
You sure the other podcast we're talking about religion.
Because religion, it was the technology, the techniques that were used to help control the masses. Because most people, if you didn't give them orders, and they would have fucking turned into fucking animals, right? So, these techniques, these technologies, religions, they're cults, really. Cults come from cultures. Right, and cultures.
Cults with the nickname of religion, basically.
Yeah. And so you'll notice that religious people generally, because they'll tell us that, you know, you'll only really experience bliss when you die and go to heaven. Personally, and based on everything what I've experienced, and you know, you and I coming up from a very fucked up, poor background, I've noticed as I've experienced my life and all that, I believe in, and I know that we can have as much as this blissful experience of life while we're alive. Who gives a shit about heaven or than that? Why belittle the present reality of where we're at? And that's where the psychosis, where most people kind of either politically ideological or religiously ideological. Either way, it's the same thing. They're trying, not that they're trying. It's just that that's where we come from as a human, as a race. And now we're literally little by little we're breaking up away from that and starting to see things a little more clearly. Like, oh shit.
So with that ideology, that's why I think at one point, and Catholicism, preaches out of the first doctrine or the first testament, and says, and that's why they have all of the, we gotta, don't eat meat on Fridays and don't do this and don't do that and all the sacrifices that you have to make.
Right.
And then, Christianity at a later date when the world began to change, right? Yep. They went on to Christianity and they said, well, the curtain came down. You no longer have to speak to God through the curtain. Now it's about your relationship with the Lord. There's no longer the need for the sacrifices and following this ideology of things that you have to do to be in God's good graces. So they've developed Christianity. Now all these Christianity and all these different religions are changing their processes or their thoughts to comfort, to fit within the new societal norms. Will there be another one written?
That's a good question. I think so, and I'll tell you why real quick, because even the Vatican now is saying that they do believe in extraterrestrials. Where I was just like, holy shit, back then they were saying there was no such thing as extraterrestrials.
Right.
And to break away from, I know the main two are like Catholicism and Christianity, but I know that recently Mormons came out and said, hey, being gay is okay.
Right.
They took a softer stance on gay marriage. Did God change his fucking mind and rewrite?
Yeah, you didn't get the
word?
memo. You didn't get that email.
No, I didn't. I guess I wasn't CC'd. Like
that was on the other lost tablet.
That's the one.
That's the 9th commandment. Gay is okay.
Right?
Did I say the 9th? I meant 11th.
Right.
You know what's crazy is like if you look at the yogi sciences and the inner sciences of the East, they're spiritual sciences. They actually always talked about the connection with these other beings, extraterrestrial beings, and they're always been there, and even up to date. So now, barely, like now the government and like the Catholic Church, and little by little, they're starting to come out and say it. It's always been there. But because largely people's consciousness, their brains, the way that we were evolved, and we were going through an evolutionary process. Now humanity is about to grow up, and it's like a maturity. Yeah, well, because if we don't, you're gonna wither away and die. It's like the chrysalis of a butterfly, right? It's in a cocoon, and if it doesn't break out, grow up into a butterfly, it dies.
We won't be alive to see that change.
Yeah,
it's already happening, and but again, we don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing. But the one thing you can do is you as an individual, you can always take charge of your life, and then you live your life, a good quality way of life. Be empowered and create the right thoughts and understand the mechanics of what creates your programming, your beliefs. And is it empowering beliefs or are they disempowering beliefs? How do you know? Because you feel it. And if you feel like shit, you're going to act like shit, and everything around you in life is going to be shit. So you can change that if you want to. But you're going to have to do the work.
Shit after this, dude.
There you go.
Clearly.
There you go.
You get rid of all that shit.
Get all that shit.
And that's where fasting and cleansing comes around. These on the Catholic things where they only eat fish on Fridays or whatever. They come from these same
Ashley
principles.
Wednesdays and I don't know what else.
Yeah, but
Ash Wednesday. Not Ashley Wednesday.
Yeah.
No, not Ashley. Oh my god.
Oh no, that's what I do on Wednesdays.
Yeah, right?
Ashley sounds young.
Amigo knows all. What I always say, I don't even want to say that.
Yeah,
I don't want to say that on the air.
Probably shouldn't. Knowing you, Manny, you shouldn't.
Yeah. You know what's crazy too? Like now with technology. With
Stop
technology.
He still had to get his fucking joke in there.
with technology and everything that's come about, I mean, with the research that we've done with neuroplasticity and just amazing things that are
Stem
happening.
cell research and shit.
Oh, dude, it's all there, and it's there for those who are willing to look into it. And they have there's medical and scientific evidence showing that the human being, the individual, functions in his most optimal and strong, powerful state when he is joyful and playful. His mind, and literally the heart pumps more richer nutrient, oxygen-rich blood to all the vital organs. Your brain comes up with easy ways to think clearer and come up with solutions. But still, you'll notice that people tend to love to be negative. You know, they love the drama.
I work in
They
the
love
food
the
industry.
fear.
I
Yes.
fucking understand.
Yeah,
We work
and
in
it's an
customer
addiction.
service, we know that too.
Fear.
Well, again, it's a safety net.
If
Yeah.
fear creates an actual chemical reaction in your brain that literally exaggerates your perception of reality, and it makes you see things that are not really there. And
Sounds like a
that's
good drug.
that's exactly what it is.
And then there's Manny.
Sounds like women.
Yeah,
Sounds like women.
yeah. And so by becoming cognizant of that, you can actually change that paradigm. You don't have to be subservient to it or enslaved by it, but you can actually start to use these chemical reactions within the body to become more blissful, happier.
So,
healthy,
Juan, let me
stronger.
ask you a question.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how many clients would you say you've had in the last 5 years?
Well, it depends on several, because there's different techniques or different ones.
What would you say is the makeup of your clients? More men or more women?
Women?
How many of the women that you have as clients have you slept with?
None.
Ooh.
I'm still waiting for the answer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you tell them while you were coming on here and you can't really say
I'm
it,
not
or-
gonna sit here and tell you that I did not have the thought, because those tits and ass were like, I'm still a guy.
There it is.
The boobies?
Yeah,
maybe?
it's
There
there.
it is. The boobies in
the
there.
honesty we're looking
Yeah.
for, right?
It's
There's the
there.
happy. There's the happy place, Juan.
That's I'm
There's
still,
this full play.
I am still I'm still a
shit,
guy, dude, and I love women,
course,
dude. But it's like at the same time, it's like don't shit and piss where you eat and sleep.
I should know that
Yeah.
too well.
I learned that the hard way, and I think Manny continues to learn.
Yeah.
No, man, he continues to do the same
Same
shit.
shit over and over again. Yeah, and I'm not here to be perfect or be saintly and all that bullshit, dude. No, fuck no, because being human is literally an experience, and the fact that we're alive and that we get to do shit, that's something that most people fucking take for granted, man.
So do you
Yeah.
do you have your office where people come in, or do you just meet people at their home or like at a fucking park? Like,
A lot of times, a lot of the work that I do is
Yes, like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Group yoga. or-
No, yeah, right.
This week's meeting is in the steam yoga room.
Shit.
No, a lot of the work that I
please
do, I
keep your
can
towel on.
I can work remotely, and I a lot of the times it's over over the phone or over the Zoom. Sometimes, yeah, definitely face to face.
Is that just now because of what's going on, or is that
No,
before
before
all this?
because it just made it easier. I don't have to be there to do these anywhere, because ultimately the supercomputer of all computers is the human being. This is the thing, the technology that creates all technologies in the world. Artificial intelligence, spaceships, electronic cars, this computer, cell phones, everything, it comes from this computer system.
Have you ever met somebody that came to you and said, "Hey, look, man, just want to, see what it's all about. I want to, whatever, whatnot." I don't know what kind of questions they ask you.
Right.
But have you ever met somebody and said, "There's no fucking way I can help this guy"?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I've never actually. So far I've only had one person who couldn't didn't want to do the work. He kind of said, "I can't do this right now." I'm like, okay, and it's usually the guys who bitch out, who act like pussies. Women are ready.
God damn, I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, women are down, dude, and when men have become so emasculated, it's so crazy right now that over 80% of men in the U.S., I don't know about the world, but in the U.S., are producing more estrogen in their bloodstream than a normal healthy woman.
Men are bitches.
Yeah.
But that's part of that is all the shit that's in our foods.
Yeah.
That is part.
and all these things that are being pushed through that we don't know about.
Also, is the man devaluing his masculinity because masculine energy is literally testosterone.
And I think that happened
Yeah.
over the generation between or after us, where a lot of the men weren't around for their kids, and these kids that were being raised only by women,
by moms. Yeah.
so they only have vaginal aspects of life. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, women. Yeah, the feminine, the feminine, the feminine, the estrogen. Be
that's
sensitive.
a good description for it.
Yeah, no, it is.
What'd you say?
That's
I
exactly
like
what
that
it
word.
is.
vaginal aspects.
Vaginal aspects.
Yeah, that's the divine.
gonna
That's
get a
the
shirt
divine
that says
feminine. You should get that,
Dude,
actually.
That'd be
you gotta
awesome.
make a pink
It's a
shirt that
pussy
says
view.
vaginal aspects.
Yeah, and it's a
Vaginal
beautiful view. I
aspects.
want to ask
I
you
like
guys
that.
right now.
Hey, that's
How many
awesome
of you?
right there.
How many of you are against the vaginal aspect?
What do you mean by that?
Like, what do you mean?
Do any of you hate the vagina?
Oh, fuck no. I love
Manny has moments where he seems like he does, but
It's because they stress me out.
Well,
Okay,
thought you got
I
HPV.
think we touched Mingo's
Why?
soft spot right now.
yeah,
don't touch him in a soft spot.
Yeah, it's not that I.
Not
It's,
while we're here.
well, if you're gonna talk about vagina, it's not soft. I'm gonna tell you right now. You poke at it all you want, it's not
Time
soft.
to get hard. Time to get hard.
Don't fucking say it like that.
But we don't call it like because there's the vaginal aspect, and then if it's used the wrong way, it becomes vaginamite.
That sounds like a tasty Australian treat.
Because it explodes and
That's the
damages everything
United
around it.
States.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And pussy hair is the strongest substance in the world. That shit'll pull 4 tractors before that hair
Oh,
breaks.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because men will fall over backwards and do whatever they can to obtain it.
You know,
That's
it's
hard,
it's a balancing thing too,
go-
because if you look out throughout history, men have done some really fucked up shit to women and children. And
Oh,
so
wait a
I
minute,
feel.
wait a minute, wait, hold on.
Hold on, hold on,
No,
hold on. Let me get there. Let me get there.
no,
Let me get
no,
there.
no, no,
So
no,
if
no,
you look,
I think
no.
he's gonna win.
No.
okay, check this out.
It's always been.
Uh-huh.
They always say, "Oh, it's behind every fucking
Strong
strong
man.
man is a strong woman."
No, it's
Throwing
not
her
true.
a woman.
I can give
Throwing
you.
her a-
I can give you. I can give you
Behind
Jesus
every-
Christ. I can give you
behind every
Gandhi,
fallen castle
Marcus
is
Aurelius.
some fucked up queen telling her man some fucked up shit, and it all started with Eve. Oh no, go ahead, eat the apple, cabrón. It's gonna be. It's okay.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And,
tells me
and
she
you know
didn't call
what?
him
It's
cabrón.
that fucking idiot of a man. Go, oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, look at Samson. Samson. Oh, babe, cut your hair. I want to see what you look like with short hair.
Yeah.
All his fucking powers gone, right?
Hey, Adolf, why don't
Yeah.
you try for art school?
You see, but so check this out. Like women are the givers of life and all that, and men are we're just as our testosterone grows, we become hairy and we could become dominant, and so we have done throughout history we had dominated women, and put them down. So out of guilt, and this is I'm just hypothesizing here, we have. How do you say, felt bad about that, and we saw all of a sudden in this age, in this era now of our fathers, and I saw my father beat the shit out of my mom, and that made me fucking sick, man. That made me look at my dad, and I became feminist to a bitch, okay, and I really hated that because I saw how my dad and I saw the men how they treat their women, and now reflecting back is like, why did I do all that? Because I became disgusted at the masculine power, the presence of a man, and how the way he was treating women. Well, he was doing that unconsciously. He was doing it out of fear, out of the things that he knew how to deal with women. But it was a different time, and now
What'd you say? It was out of his fear of what?
out of his fear of how to deal with women. Because he and he probably still has a lot of issues with, intimacy and knowing how to be a man. And, what the number one reason why men cheat on women?
No.
It's because their testosterone levels are dropped low. And every time you look for women or a strange ass, it's a testosterone booster. So you literally are fighting for your life when you go out and cheat on if you have a wife, because you do not know how to balance your testosterone levels. Once your testosterone levels are on point, you are happy with having a woman by your side, any woman, and especially if it's your wife or your
I don't know
committed
about any
relationship.
woman, but
Or your wife, or the relationship that you have, you honor it because you're on point with. You feel strong, you feel clear, you feel enabled when you have your testosterone levels. Anytime that for a man, testosterone is directly linked to his health, his vitality. Anytime that is compromised, he's shit. He becomes sensitive. Why? Because estrogen makes men sensitive, and it disempowers us, and it makes us want. And then when that happens, heart disease, erectile dysfunction, mental disorders, all of it goes to shit, and we become very erratic. In fact, most of the fights are at the bars, on the streets, and all that stuff. It's because their testosterone levels are dipped low. Anytime you feed a true masterful martial artist fight, you'll never see them fight out of anger, out of impulsive emotions.
Just rage.
He is very clear and centered and powerful and very cool. If you ever see them, because that's all
It's like
testosterone. And he's on point.
Don't get him fucking started on it, man. Sick of it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's the shit, dude.
Yeah.
I think you're right as far as some of that with the testosterone levels, and I think that a lot of times.
And we do have a culture. Our environment is largely pumping us like that water you guys are drinking with the plastic on there. Those are called estrogens. They go into your bloodstream. They recreate estrogen in your bloodstream. It is what it is. Now, unless you get purified water that has BPA-free and BPS-free things, and you purify the water and then mineralize it, that'll help clean out the estrogen out of your system, and then you have to give your body, certain supplements like zinc and some other things that help rebuild the testosterone in your system. Also, having a clear and sharp mind builds testosterone. Meditation helps build testosterone. Doing push-ups, resting. Men need 30 times more rest and relaxation than women do in order to build
Because of
testosterone.
women.
Because of women. Yeah.
Because of stress. Because of stress. Yeah.
I beat you to it.
Yeah.
I finally beat my dad to a girl.
And that's why
to a woman joke.
That's why men need their cave time. They need to have their time with their buddies. They go do guys things, whatever, because that builds testosterone. And then we come back home, and the home is a woman's lair. Is the woman's kingdom. The world out there is the man's kingdom. Now, if you're in a relationship, if you're in a
I'm paying for
relationship,
the motherfuckers.
yeah. If you want,
That's my man cave right
if you
there.
have a woman,
You know what I mean?
if you have a woman, you're in a relationship. The home is the woman's lair, and you have no say in it. But you, when it comes to your cars, going out into the world and playing and fucking around with guys, that's the man's world, and that's where you build your testosterone. You come home.
I guess that's why I'm single.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
'Cause I like my space. That's my shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, because you know what? That almost like you feel it, right? That you need your space. You need your testosterone. You need your time. Otherwise,
I need my space, dude.
Yeah.
I can't deal with women's bullshit either. That's the thing, dude.
Right.
And I
This isn't a real good bio for your dating.
well, it's because it is what it is. I can't stand like how women have become so, like how you were saying, masculine, and they're trying to fucking like rule
Dominate
you and dominate you and tell you this and tell you that, and I'm like, I can't stand that shit.
yeah, and
You know what I mean?
that's a
feminism's new definition.
Well,
There's
I hate
very
that
few.
shit.
There's very few women, far and few between, whatever the fuck
few
it
and
is,
far between.
that understand and still play that role of mom and housewife. And there came a time where people were, they got married and they wanted everything that their fucking parents had right then and there.
Yeah.
And they put themselves totally in debt buying a house and the fucking boat
And then get
decking
depressed.
out the house and all that bullshit because they thought that's the way it worked. They didn't realize that their parents worked fucking 40, 50 years to get all that bullshit.
Yeah.
They wanted it instantly.
Yeah.
So both parents had to go to work, which devalued and deconstructed. There you go. That familial structure.
Familial.
Thank you. I'm having a tough time with my tongue today.
Yeah, 2 beers, man.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
it
all
is.
2 beers, dude.
It was only 2 beers last time.
So it devalued that family element of, hey, mom, stay home, take care of the kids. They couldn't do that anymore,
right.
Because they wanted all of that extra bullshit.
Yeah.
And then women that started going to work, and then they got divorced, and they're like, well, fuck it, I can do it by myself anyways. I don't need you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So now they're taking care of the family. Yeah. They're still getting money from their men, so
Child support.
right? So they've got it coming and going, right?
Oh yeah.
So once that came into play, and it took away that family structure, and that became the
Familial.
norm, then it changed the structure of the world, and it's only gotten worse and worse as time has gone by.
Yep.
and that there's a time in life when children need their mother, and that soft place to land. Yeah. But there's also a time in life where they need their father, and they need that strength, and they need that structure, and they need that fear,
that rock.
Yeah. Because
I wouldn't call it fear, but I'll go along with what
he hates fear. If you didn't,
no, I don't hate it. It's just that it doesn't. It does. I never looked at my dad and said, "Wow, he's amazing because he's fearful." He was amazing because he portrayed this sense of clarity, of knowing, but it was a facade.
I'm not saying that you should. I'm saying when I say fear, I mean a fear of your parents and of doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And making sure that you as a child listen, because that's gone. These kids nowadays, that there's no respect. They have no guidance. There's no guidelines. There's nothing.
They were doing this thing not too long ago, right? I mean, where these kids would just go up to people like at the bus stops, and they would call like a beatdown for old people, and they would just beat the shit out of people.
Yeah, the knockout game.
Yeah, the knockout game, and see how many times you hit somebody to knock them out.
But when we're growing up, I saw the same shit, dude.
Yeah, but nowadays it's fucking worse.
Well, it's grown up. I mean, probably exploded more, but it's always been around, dude. To be honest with you,
nowadays there's more weapons.
It's the internet.
Yeah, it kind of shows it off.
It does. Yeah, it does. It does make it bigger than what it is. For a large part, but that's just not our everyday reality. Yeah. It does warp our perception. The internet.
No, but here's the thing. Like what I was saying is about this whole feminist movement, the Me Too movement, all this other shit, right, dude?
Right.
Like women have this sense of entitlement where they feel like, well, not only am I gonna go out and work and do what I want to do and make my money, but also I want that guy to make his own money but pay for me.
Yeah, I want my man to be my bitch.
Yeah, and point in case, I have someone that's close to me. Yeah. That is always saying like, I want a guy to pay for everything, but the money that I make on my own, it's mine, and I'm like, fuck that.
They want a sugar daddy,
and those women were taught by their mothers.
Yeah, or because the dudes that they were with before, they spoiled them.
Yeah,
I would say MTV probably taught her that. I wouldn't say.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the internet or
the internet, the music, the culture. Getting mine, and I'm an independent woman. All that shit.
I don't need no man.
Yeah. But that's the number one thing. That's the number one presence of the femininity in women is the ability to trust themselves, to be vulnerable, and to need a man. If you don't need a man, then what do you need a man for? Oh, to pay my bills? Then a guy's not gonna want to fuck you.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll tell you what you want to hear, but he's not gonna be in bed with you and try to build a relationship, because he does. A man, in order for him to be turned on and wants to be a part of a life, he needs to feel needed and wanted by the woman.
A man needs to be revered, and
and if she has it all going on, she's making all the money, whatever. Then you're not gonna want to. You're always gonna look for the damsel, quote unquote, the damsel in distress. That old archetype, because that's what turns us on.
That's what we had said before, that all these women are out there. Oh well, I can handle my own. I don't need no man. Blah blah blah. That's
masculinity.
We don't want you.
But
that's okay. Right. Being independent, and being like, I don't need nothing. I don't need nobody. I make my own money. That's masculinity, and most women are confusing femininity with masculinity today. They think being
they want to be equal to a man.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, and they're disempowering themselves from the luxury of embracing their femininity, of really feeling that ability to give love and devote them. They don't. Most of the people I've worked with, most of the women I've worked with, when I started touching on these subjects, they start literally crying, and then they like, I've never felt this before, Juan, this and that. Well, that's because you're starting to re-embrace your true femininity, your true power.
And then move your hand down here.
That's where I was going.
And cup these.
Yeah.
Women,
believe it or not, yes, that comes into play. But I have to be, real and say, hey,
professional. We gotta
keep, because you know what? Okay, but because once a guy, check this out, because NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is such a real thing. It's so powerful that even right now, I think in Italy and some other countries in the world are starting to call out Bill Gates and all these other people. And I think I showed you that video too, where they're literally, because they're using these kinds of techniques that dupe people into getting their way. And they're using now. They're calling Bill Gates and all these other organizations, isn't it, that he created for crimes against humanity, because they were using techniques and technologies that were against humanity and the well-being of all these people, of all humanity. It's crazy, man.
Before we go too far, I want to go back to the woman thing real quick.
All right.
They have taken the definition of what they called toxic masculinity and used it for themselves.
Yeah.
They've turned that definition into something that they can use to make themselves seem independent of, I'm strong, independent, I don't need a man. That's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
But just
on the
woman's side of it.
Here's the funny thing.
yeah.
When it comes to masculinity and femininity, it doesn't equal man or woman. These are just energies that every man and woman has. And unless you understand your own individual balance, because everybody's different, then you're not going to have the balance and you're not going to have the power to create a good relationship with anybody, much less your environment.
I think it's deeper than that. I think it's more about societal norms.
Well, but it begins with the individual, not society. Because the world doesn't change because the world changes. The world changes with a small group, or the individual brings out something that contributes to that change.
Well, but these societal norms have been things that we were taught way back when,
you
where
were programmed.
women cleaned.
These are programs.
And
But
these are all things that
were
that women
techniques.
want to change.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they still do them. Men don't go in and do the dishes because they want to, or because they're half the time because they're fucking there. They know that if they don't do them, they're not getting any chon-chon.
They're not going to get done. But that's the thing. Men should do them because they need to get done. Women should do them because they need to get done, not because
women should change the oil in their own car because it needs to be done. And
well,
let
let me put it to
They're
this
gonna
way:
be like, oh no.
if there's no man around, there's no mechanic around, there's nobody around, your car's about to crap out, and if you change the oil, if you don't change the oil, is the car going to work for you, whether you're a man or a woman?
Yeah, but they're not gonna do it.
But that's not what that's not
the
That's not
question.
what I'm asking. You're
That's not the question,
avoiding
yeah.
the question.
Okay, what is the question again?
Well, the question is if you're saying that if there's dishes that and the man should just do them because they need to get done. Well, if there's no man around and she's got a car and the oil needs to be changed, she should fucking change it, right? According to what you said,
you're going to want to wait and have maybe God come and do it for you, or what?
Well, I'm asking.
Answer the
because-
question.
Don't
Stop
dodge the
avoiding
question.
it.
You're not going to answer it with another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because you said
Uh-huh.
that if the dishes need to be done, then a man's there, that he should do them.
Yeah.
So if a man's not there and a woman is, then the oil needs to be changed. Are you saying she needs to change it?
If there's no man around and it needs to be changed, right? Hello?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. So does it need to be changed? I mean, if I say no, all right, is the car going to function? No. But if you change it...
But you're not answering
yes.
the question.
I just answered the question. And I gave you another question to follow that answer.
You should just answer it with a straight up yes or no.
Yeah,
so you want a yes or no?
Yeah, you're dancing. You're dancing
No,
around.
no.
the question.
You like people to dance around the questions, so you can try to prove
No,
your
he
point.
fucking hates that.
Yeah, no, because check this out. Check this out. The most amazing thing that I've noticed about people is that they rather be, the ego rather loves to be right than to do the right thing. And because it empowers that childish defensive mechanism within us. Instead of acting out of our own intelligence, we rather, no, I know what I know. And if you don't give me a straight answer, then you're just acting out. And you're projecting that on somebody else.
So the question is.
So the question
So
is.
if a guy has to do the dishes because they're there.
Third time's the charm, boys. We'll get him to answer it.
But then if a woman knows that the oil change has to be done, she better fucking do it.
I'll tell you what.
Right?
Here, let me put it this way. I think this is another thing.
Wait.
If
So
you're a
what you're
man,
saying
if you're a man,
is that if you're a man, that
if
you
you're
need
a
to do
man-
everything that the woman wants you to do.
No. Check this out. If
and
you're a
she
man,
doesn't have to help you.
If you're a man and you have a home and you have a car, you got to do your fucking dishes. And you got to change the oil in your car. Period. Because if you, unless you pay somebody else to do it for you, right? If you're a woman,
I think that's where the double standard.
but check
is.
this out. But if you're a woman,
Yeah.
and you live in your own house and you have your own car, and the dishes needs to get done, the oil change needs to get done. But let's say that you do not know how to fucking do the fucking oil change, but most than likely you know how to fucking wash a dish. Well, you gotta wash the fucking dish in order for it to be clean. Mm-hmm. But if you do not know how to change an oil, the oil car, well then you're fucked.
Well, then a girl's fucked.
Yeah.
So
but that's where a man comes in. Generally speaking, now a woman can learn to fucking do the oil change properly. Then she should do it. Yeah, just do it. Exactly. But if a guy can do it for her, and he offers that for her, you know, then she should. You know, I don't know if she should or should not. Maybe she doesn't give a shit.
Well, then she should be offering to wash the dishes if you're offering to change her oil. Not in the dirty sense.
Because
Maybe,
that's where societal norms and what we've talked about. Because
and let's twist this around.
Hold on, because if the women are supposed to do the dishes and do the cleaning inside the house, right? Mm-hmm. But they ask a man, oh, well, it's 50-50. You should help us in here. All right, great. So when I go outside and I fucking do the lawn and trim the hedges and change the oil and wash the cars, you're going to go out and do half of that too, right? That's not the way it works. They want you to do all that shit outside. And they want you to come in and help with all the shit that goes on inside the house.
Then I'm going to ask you, as a man, what the fuck are you doing with a woman like that?
I'm not. I'm divorced.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And that's I would say 80% of relationships right now, unfortunately. Yeah. Until that balance of femininity and masculinity comes between the individuals, that shit is not going to change because the responsibility comes to you.
To the individual.
Yeah. Well, it's not society. It's you. But if you follow you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and you're trying to do this and because society says that and religion says this, you're going to fuck yourself. You're going to be so confused in your mind that you do not know your ass from your hand. You know, so it's very important that you start to take responsibility for your life and start to do the right things, especially when it comes to relationships that actually create an amazing relationship.
So are you telling me, let me ask you, on a personal level, do you believe in societal norms where women should be responsible for the household on the inside and you on the outside and the house and the cars and all that shit? Or do you think it should all be 50-50 all the way across the board?
When it comes to relationships, and especially nowadays, there is no paradigm that says this is the way it's supposed to be and this is not the way it's supposed to be, especially nowadays. Right now, generally speaking, before the generation before this one, men or boys used to be born with the left side of the brain a little more developed, and girls used to be born with the right side of the brain a little more developed. Nowadays, and this is an evolutionary process, children are being born with both sides of the brain developed equally, and this usually leads to geniuses, and this is happening on a mass scale. This is another reason why there's a lot of...
What does this have to do with what I asked?
Well, because we're talking about man and female perceptions, right, of what one should do and what the other one should do. Well, at this point, how the paradigms or the rules of societal norms and all that no longer apply because shit has changed. Things have changed. In fact, humans are evolving on a real level. Men and boys and boys and girls right now are there is a lack of appreciation and of observance of, like, when you're born with a male body, you have a male body, but it's getting so twisted psychologically, mentally, because there is a disidentification to how, generally speaking, a lot of men are becoming feminized because of our environment and the estrogen and all that shit, that guys feel, a lot of, transgender people, they feel feminine and they feel like, I should have been born a woman. And you feel like you've been cheated and now you want to be a woman, not in a man's body.
But I think you're going too
far.
You're way far off the question.
Well, coming back full circle again. I'll answer it again real quickly because it involves this bigger picture. Because this answer, the paradigm itself, the culture and all that, it no longer applies. No. That's the truth. There is no rules. But what you can pay attention to? But
that's the problem, though, is because those rules have gone away.
Rules.
That's why they say,
check this out. Rules
boys can be boys. That were born to be women and women that were born to be, and they're letting children at the age of, 5 and 7 and 10 years old saying, oh, well, I was born to be a woman. Well, what
Yeah.
do you know at fucking 7 or 10
Nothing.
or
Barely-
15?
you barely know how to
Not a
multiply.
damn
Right.
thing.
They-
But
they-
you know what?
you want to do for the rest of your
Chil-
life.
children never really ever listen to what parents say, but they never fail to mimic them. Okay, so this is more of a reflection of where they're coming from.
And that's
in the
where
culture.
and I agree with you on that, because I feel like that's where the problem is nowadays. I see these little transgender kids, like the little boys wearing their lipstick, and the dad goes, "Well, if you want to wear lipstick and you want to wear a dress, that's okay." I'm like, fuck that noise. If my little girl's fucking over there twerking her little ass and she's 5, 6 years old, I'm not gonna be like, "Well, here, let me go buy a stripper pole."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Fuck
let me
that.
go get your fucking TikTok light
TikTok
so
video.
you can make
Fuck
your fucking...
no.
But dude, does it?
Fuck
But that's
that.
just being sensible, right?
What do you mean?
Right. Well, looking out for your child's well-being and say, hey,
No, but that's what I'm trying. That's what we're trying to get. I'm trying to get at where we've been sissified as a society, because I feel like kids now, and especially because we talked about this before and in a podcast, where now there's so many laws and shit that you, as a parent, you can't even hit your kids now, and you can't do this and you can't do that. So you got to be ultra sensitive. You know what I mean?
Think about this. In the military, drill sergeants are no longer allowed to yell, curse, or knife hand.
Are you
Our
serious,
fucking military.
dude? That's some fuck bullshit, dude.
so
What our military used to do is break people down and
And
build them
rebuild
back
them.
up to follow orders.
Yeah.
You were built as a fucking machine to kill whatever was in front of you.
but here's the thing. And
They used to build you
Yeah.
as a killing machine. Now you're a sewing machine.
yeah.
yeah. And
You're a
see,
sewing machine
and
that
see,
can
here's the
sometimes
thing.
cook.
Here's the thing. That's because the paradigm, the world, the culture, humanity is evolving, is changing. Wars are no longer fight by brute mass physical force. You have technology, you have weapons, you have all kinds of crazy shit out there. You don't really need that kind of way of fighting anymore. It's good for your health and your survivability to connect to your ability to defend yourself for sure.
So what
But-
happens when technology goes to shit and we need to fight with bullets and hand-to-hand combat?
Right. Here, check this out. I mean, I'm all about all that stuff, Manny. You
Me
know, I
too.
train. Hey, Manny, do I train in
yeah.
Sistema and I train with these military professionals? I mean, you name it.
Really?
That's all
Yeah.
my shit, dude. And I
the-
work with the Russians.
Vladimir and all
yes,
those people. He does
and,
systema training.
yeah, so-
weapons training and knife training.
yeah. So I train with these like
Oh,
some
so you
crazy.
train with the Russians, have you?
Yes, I train with a lot of different people, Indians and Americans, and you name it. But
And when you say
But
Indians,
what-
are you talking dot or feather?
both actually. But here's the thing: the paradigm has changed, and the things like the way we go about dealing with combat and war, all that nobody really knows what the fuck is going on. To be honest with you, nobody knows. But the one thing you should know is that you should rely on your own intelligence, because rules and regulations should never be in replacement of your own sensible intelligence. So the individual has to do the things that work best for them. And this is a self-discovering process. This
Just
is
like Mike
life.
Tyson said, he said, everyone has a plan until you get fucking hit first.
Until you
Pretty
get punched
much.
in the face.
Hey, it don't get realer than that, does it? Yeah. All that bullshit goes out the way. Oh, I know the right rules and the right ways to do family. And you don't know your ass from shit, dude. You got to do, when you have a child and you have a wife, to manage that situation it's complicated. And there is no one right way for everybody. You
wish
have to
there
figure
was.
that shit out.
I
And
wish
you
there was
got to
a manual
use,
for
you got to
that.
be you,
If
and
there
you got to
was, we'd
be
robots.
you got to be mentally sharp, dude. You got to be emotionally right, stable. You got to have a physical, healthy body, and your spiritual energy and your spiritual intelligence, the integrity has to be on point. Or you know what? You're not going to come through.
He's right. You either got to be all in and
Yes.
allow yourself to be pussified, or you got to be able to not give a shit and stand your ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to
And
use
most people now aren't going to stand their ground for shit.
exactly, and that's where most people would really, literally die.
Because
Kill-
society
so-
won't.
kill
Because
them.
society won't let them.
But
Yeah.
no, because they're hiding behind society. See, the whole process of democracy means that everything is supposed to be a fucking mess. Why? Because the people have the power, not one organized government. In order for the democracy to work, is the individual like you, Migo, Manny, myself, and every other man and woman to actually use that power. Their own individual intelligence come together and tell the government, tell these politicians to act right. And if they're not acting under the Constitution to protect our rights, then we remove them out of the office and replace them with somebody who does have the mental, emotional, physical, and then spiritual intelligence and integrity to oversee the operation. And if not, then we remove that person too.
That's why we're a democratic republic.
Exactly.
We are not a straight-up democracy. If we were a straight-up democracy, there would be nothing but fucking anarchy in this country.
Yes.
Because no single person has the same exact thought or beliefs as the next one.
And that is what makes America great.
Oh, fuck.
That's
And
what
there's
made
the
America
famous
great.
line. Right? It was great doing this podcast. I'm no longer going to be online.
fucking follower.
I know, right? I know. I got to throw that in there just to
make
fuck
America
around.
great again.
And I didn't say that.
Great. No,
I didn't
know
say
what
that. I know
said.
what you said.
I know where
though.
you were going. though.
But
We
you
read
said
between
it.
the lines, Juan. Don't fight.
You guys saw
We know
that.
it's a republic.
You guys said that. You guys are going there, huh?
Your imaginary red hat.
And look who's wearing the red hat.
Yeah.
Fucking made in China.
Should be on your
Who's wearing
head.
the red hat up in this bitch? Shit.
Oh shit!
Hey, Juan, thanks for hanging out, man. It was
Hey,
really
man.
interesting. I
Awesome.
appreciate you
Yeah, man.
hanging with us. And
Shooting the
Shit in the
shits.
shit, yeah.
yeah.
Squirting the
I'm
squirt.
hoping
No.
I'm hoping you'd like the fire, but it was a little smoldering. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hey, do me a favor again. Plug your website and a phone number where people can get a hold of you if they
Yeah.
like what you said and need your help.
Yeah. LeoMethod.com.
All right,
Everything
guys,
is on
thanks
there.
for no, I'm just kidding, all right? I'm just kidding,
And then
brother.
when you hear the podcast, you'll be like,
Yeah, right?
Oh,
kidding, bro. Go
shit.
ahead.
Yeah, LeoMethod.com. LeoMethod.com. And you'll have everything in there. So you can reach me from there. And yeah, any questions? There's a lot of really cool information in there that can really, you don't even need to sign up. Just look it up, read it. And if it works for you, cool. If not, then if it's all bullshit, just
Wow,
fucking
look at
move
that.
on.
It's fucking free, too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Hey, brother, again, thanks for hanging out.
No,
Sebastian,
man,
any
it's a
final
pleasure. It
words?
was hilarious. It was fun, dude.
Awesome. You can come back
Yeah.
anytime, brother.
Oh,
I don't
thank
have
you.
shit. You know where you can find us. If not, listen to an earlier podcast. I'll say it somewhere.
Yo,
I'm fucking done saying it.
man, any final words?
guys, we love doing this stuff for you guys. So
Yeah.
hit us up on Patreon. Give us a little donation.
A
Helps
little
us keep
love.
going
You
the
want a
show.
little love, right?
Cool
a little
prices.
financial love,
Cool
please,
prices
for
on
the
there.
homies.
Oh yeah, cool
Yeah.
prices on there.
Cool prices.
Yeah.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
We've gotten a couple of contributions on PayPal through Mingo's Madhouse at yahoo.com.
Oh shit, nice. Cool.
So go ahead and do that if that's easier for you.
Yeah.
And again, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you soon. Love you guys. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.